Y'all, it is Crafty Hope here, and welcome to ICAD number 28. I have a bunch of information about ICAD below, but basically, what you need to know is it is a challenge that runs June and July, in which you decorate an index card using mixed media techniques. Now, there are prompts out there for it. The originator, who's Tammy Garcia, she has some of her own, as well as my friend Nina Fickett has some. Today I am, let's see, Tammy's was magician and Nina's was focus. I did not, well, I tried to figure out something for magician. I do love anything magic and magic related, but I just could not find anything that would work for that for me this time. So I kind of forewent that and focused on focus that Nina had. In fact, I didn't think I was going to use that one either. But I end up using it. So I'm starting this card the way I start most of them, and that is with some collage. I've got some altered book pages here. I think I'm going to throw a little bit of sewing pattern paper, there it is, at this page, and I'm sticking it all down with just an Oohoo glue stick. Just to, get started. It's a good way for any project for me to just jump in there and throw a bunch of stuff. This is all things that could have been considered trash, but I am upcycling them into something pretty awesome. At least I think it is. That's just a me thing. All right. I'm going to trim this off, kind of, I'm just tearing it. Um, and gluing it back down. I tore it off, and yeah, I've done that in several cards. The stuff that I tear off, I'm just going to stick somewhere else on the card. This one was a bit of an adventure for me. I got to do something I haven't done before. I incorporated a little bit of sewing. I'm going to show you all of that right now. So I decided I wanted to tear into this card. So I'm going to take I think some scissors, and poke a hole. No, well, I tried to do it with my hands and didn't work. So I'm going to poke scissors. I see Tiffany of Southern Gals Designs tear into a lot of her stuff, and maybe that's where that came from. But I just wanted to expose a hole. I did this in one of my previous cards, poked a hole, but I actually cut it. This time I'm just kind of folding it back. Yeah, and making this exposed hole. We're going to do something more with it in a little bit. Off camera, I threaded a needle and made a knot, and with this kind of rusty colored um, embroidery floss. And I think, yeah, I pulled it down to 3 strands instead of the full 6 strands. If you want more information on how to break down a um, a strand of embroidery floss, I'm sure you can do a search on it, but it's just pulling it apart, really. And y'all, I'm gonna go around this torn piece. It is sloppy and messy, but it felt oh so good to take that needle and thread and just poke into that paper and kind of secure down those flaps that I had folded back. And yeah, I've yeah, I'm trying to think. Um, I've worked with a needle and thread since I was a kid. My mom taught me to cross stitch probably, I don't know, 5 or 6, maybe older. I could have been, 8 or 9, but yeah, I loved to cross stitch, and I haven't done it in years. I think I did a Christmas project probably 10 or 15 years ago. And I have several books on embroidery, but I hardly ever pick that stuff up. Most of the time it's in this manner in my mixed media art that I'm throwing down the thread. So there's something soothing about using a needle and taking your time to poke it into something, and I love the sound of that thread kind of pulling through something, whether it's fabric or paper, or it's just such a meditative process. Now, it doesn't seem meditative here because I've got this sped up a little bit, um, but it was at the time very kind of interesting. Oh, and look, of course, I lost my thread and had to poke it back through that needle. Now, y'all, that needle I'm using is a super long needle. I think, hold on, I'm trying to see if I've got them up here. I do. Those long needles are considered dull needles. I don't know what makes them dull needles. I think I found them at Michael's. But there's something about those really long needles that give me a better grip and they feel kind of satisfying to use. Um, so I think I'm finishing this up. This is going to end up really sloppy and messy and not at all um like a pretty design, and that's not what I was going for. You see that background is all kinds of crazy chaos, and so I kind of wanted to continue that with this whole thing is kind of just like an explosion here. So I am going to tie that off and be done here with my embroidery floss. And then I think I'm going to turn and look for a focal for this card. And I had some old photographs that were either sent to me or because I've got a package of old photographs that were sent to me and another package that I ordered off of eBay. So I dipped into those and found this picture of this older gentleman with a baby and a dog. Now the dog doesn't come through quite as well in the picture because it's kind of a mostly white dog. Um, but speaking of dog, mine is barking in the other room. But I decided to take that picture and I'm going to kind of fussy cut around. My fussy cutting skills are, well, they leave something to be desired. So I do what I can to get this cut as close as possible. I could have probably cut the dog out, but then it would have left that guy's arm kind of in an odd position. So yeah, I left the dog in. And then I'm going to take a couple little things. I think a piece of paper and a piece of rust dye cheesecloth. Yeah, that. And I'm going to go to my sewing machine and sew that on. Just tack it along the bottom. Well, tack along the bottom of that little stack. And then go around the outside of my card to kind of frame it up with. Oh, I did think about putting him, yeah, behind that little window I had created. But it just didn't come through. So I fiddled with this for a little bit, and there, yeah, I'd taken it to my sewing machine, sewed all that down, and I also printed out the words "focus on what's important" to peek through that window. I put it in a couple different fonts to figure out what would fit in there. And I've cut it down, and I'm just going to use my Oohoo glue stick to kind of go around the outside of that and then glue it in there. Just, yeah. And then I believe that's it for this card, y'all. It was pretty simple, but a lot of fun. I used a lot of different new techniques. So I'm going to give you some better looks at this, and I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you have any questions, and keep on crafting on. Thanks for watching. Bye.